of our experiences from last year in running contests. One of the first things that I want to share with you is this is not something you do on your own. You definitely need a team to do this. A successful contest requires a team of individuals to take ownership. They take ownership of their roles so that both the contestants and the audience have an enjoyable experience. Katie and I worked together last year on both the Humorous Speech Contest and on the International Speech Contest for our areas, and we found that working together was just so much easier. I want to tell you that, as far as I'm concerned, hosting the contests can be one of the most difficult things you do as an area director, but it's also one of the most enjoyable and one of the most rewarding things you'll do as an area director, to be able to see the contestants progress, to be able to see people join in leadership. There's nothing that will make members of Toastmasters within their clubs or within the area or the district own their role better than participating in one of these contests. Katie, would you like to share anything here?
I just want to tell everyone that while a lot of what we're talking about tonight, we might be focusing on area contests, the information that we're giving you can be applied to both your club contests and even to division and district contests. So don't feel like if you are not an area director that this session is not for you. This session is for anyone who is planning a contest or thinking of participating in a contest or is going to be on the contest committee. So let's get started.
Yes. The first thing, the absolute first thing you want to do is download your speech contest kits. Now, we're not going to sit here and go through every slide word by word. This is being recorded. You can go back and work over this. But basically, the contest kits are listed here. You simply go to Toastmasters International, and these are the kits that you need to download. Trust me when I tell you, just about everything you will need to run a successful contest is in these kits. First one you're looking at here is if you go to the international site and you go to the search bar and you just type in Humorous Speech Contest Kit, it will bring you to this screen. You can download right to your computer from there and print it. You don't need to buy this kit. You can put it onto your computer. As a matter of fact, all my speech contest kits are on my computer. I don't have to go back to Toastmasters anymore. Everything I need is right there and handy. So that's the Humorous Speech Contest Kit, and here's your Table Topic Speech Contest Kit. And again, it's the same thing. Just go to the international website, go to the search bar, and type in what you're looking for, and it'll bring you right to it, and you can download it. This is the contents of the Speech Contest Kit. Again, I'm not going to sit down and read every one of these things. You guys are all capable of reading. But these are all the things you're going to need to run your contest. Trust me when I tell you, you need every single one of them. You want them on your computer. You want to be able to print out copies and also to have this available at any time in case you lose anything.
It's also good to have these files so that as you build your contest team, you're able to share this information with them. So either you can tell them where to find the contest kit, or you can just forward them whatever pieces of material they are responsible for. You can forward it to them via email.
This is your contest team. You definitely need to put a team of people together to run this contest. Again, you cannot do it on your own. If you do, you'll run yourself ragged, you'll drive yourself crazy, and you'll burn out before you ever get there. So I am going to actually go through these. One of the things you have to have a contest chair. You also have to have one person that's going to be either, you call it the Toastmaster or the Contest Master for the contest. Katie and I split these roles. She actually was the contest chair, and I was the Toastmaster or the Contest Master. I was the one standing at the lectern, guiding everyone through it. Katie was in the background, making sure everything was done and everybody needed to be where they were. The first person you need to recruit on your team is the chief judge. You need to make sure when you're recruiting a chief judge that it's someone who's been around for a while, has been a judge before. Hopefully they've even been a chief judge before, because their role is one of the most important roles in the contest. It's usually they find the other judges. They know who the people are that are capable of being a judge, and that takes one thing off your plate. They know who the people are who will be responsible to show up and know what they're doing. What you don't want in any contest is to have judges who are totally new to this or don't understand what it is they're doing. For an area contest, you need 5 or more judges. For the division contest, you need 7 or more. And all of this will come in your kit. You'll understand all that. The chief judge also recruits the tiebreaker judge. Now, the tiebreaker judge doesn't fill out the same ballot everybody does. He or she has a separate ballot. And the only person who should know who that tiebreaker judge is your chief judge. If there is a tie, the chief judge will then open the envelope from the tiebreaker judge to decide who wins. You also need 3 ballot counters. That's all of these people are underneath the supervision of the chief judge.
The other thing that is important to remember is that judges are always kept confidential. So as a contest chair, you might be privileged to who the judges are, because sometimes that is required for communication with the chief judge, just to make sure you have all the bases covered. But if you have that information, it's important that you not tell anyone who those judges are. They cannot be disclosed. And when you're sending any kind of notifications out, if you are including notifications to judges, make sure that you're sending those emails as D68 so that everyone is receiving a blind copy and they cannot see who else is receiving that email.
The rest of your team, you're going to need 2 or more sergeant-at-arms, depending on the facility you're in, the venue you're in. Those sergeant-at-arms are responsible for allowing people in and out of the room at only the appropriate times. When you're there, you definitely necessarily, when you're sequestering the table topics contestants, you definitely have to have somebody you can trust that's going to stay there and know what it is they're doing. You need 2 timers, not just one. You need 2 timers. One who's actually showing the cards or the light, and the other who's keeping record of the times. This next one I am going to tell you is far down on the list, but if you want to have a successful contest, if you want to turn your contest into an event, this is one of the most important parts of your team, and that's the refreshment chair and assistants. We'll talk about that a little more later in the presentation, but I just wanted to stress how important that is. Your registration chair and the assistant, again, extremely important people, especially if you don't want to wind up spending more money than you should, and making sure that everybody is registered and that everybody has paid that should be paying. Then it's not a bad idea to have 2 more people on standby to fill in those emergency things that you're not prepared for, and trust me, they will always show up. This next thing is just a checklist. Katie and I met, I guess, about a month before our first contest. We sat down together, we built a checklist, and this checklist was extremely important for us. We stayed in contact with each other at least once a week to see where everything was filled in, to make sure that we didn't have any gaps, that every position was filled. And even though you do that, there will still be something that happens that somebody won't be able to show up and you're going to have to cover it. But this checklist is extremely important. Again, I'm not going to sit here and read through this checklist with you, but this will be recorded so you can go back and check this anytime. Or if you need to, you can get in touch with Katie and I and we'll send you ours. So the first, as you can see, it just goes through, it lists all the things you need to know that you have in place before the contest. Don't wait until the day of the contest and then all of a sudden go, ooh, still need 3 judges, or, oh, I don't know who's doing what. I don't know who the ballot counters are. You need to have this done well in advance. It will make your evening or your morning of the event much less stressful. Again, this is just the second page of that checklist. As you can see, it's a pretty complete checklist to make sure you have everything you need ahead of time. This is extremely important. You have to have an agenda. You want your agenda filled out well in advance. This is just a sample of the agenda that we had for our contest. As you can see, you want to hand one of these agendas out to everybody as they come in so that your contest is well run and smooth and operates the way it's supposed to.
One thing about the agenda that we did, and I think it becomes very helpful for the judges, is on the back side of the agenda, we listed all of our contestants. Now again, you can't list them in their speaking order because you won't know that until right before the contest, but you can list them by area and by the contest that they're in, and that way the names are there written clearly. You know who you should be looking for as contestants, and we found that that was very helpful. Plus, it's another way to just recognize those individuals as being winners of their club and area contests. So I would encourage you to put the names of your competitors on the back of your agenda. Again, don't include any names of judges.
And it will also make the life of the contest master much easier, because when he calls out the names of the contestants, he won't have to sit there and spell everyone's name. All names are not Smith or Jones. We have some names that are pretty complicated. If it's already on the back of the agenda, the judges will have that for their ballots.
And it's always funny when the contest chair is announcing them, they don't spell the name, and then one of the judges says, "How do you spell that?"
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, everybody knows, well, you're a judge.
Right, right. Okay, we're going to talk about something that is extremely important to me personally, and that's the speech contest venue selection. This is my personal feeling that you should put a little extra time in to make sure that you have a quality venue for your contest. Now, generally, your club contest, you'll simply use your club venue, whatever you're using at the club contest. My feeling on these contests is they should be building, that the club contest should be exciting and fun, and on the day of our contest, we usually change things around a little bit. We'll have some refreshments. We'll have something to make that day special within the club. Then when they move on to the area contest, you're trying to build momentum to the division contest and to the district contest. So you really want to spend a little extra time and try your best to get a quality venue. I understand sometimes we have to use a library or we have to use a room that's not optimal, but I still say that you should do your very best to try to get the best venue that you can possibly get. And for an area contest, preferably you don't want a venue you have to pay for, but sometimes you may have to get a quality venue, and it should fit 45 to 60 people in a theater style. You really don't want to have an area contest in a place where you have tables and chairs. You want to have a theater style venue. Division contest, again, you're trying to build momentum. So each time you should have to try to have a little bit nicer place. The division contest is preferably, again, a free venue for 75 to 125 people, and that's theater style. Some of the things that you want to look for to make sure your venue is adequate, to make sure your venue is an exciting place and an easy place to deal with, is you want a private room, no distractions. Please don't try to have one in a restaurant. You need a private room that is all yours. It needs to be well lit. You have to have a spacious speaking area that's well lit. It drives me crazy to go to a contest and you can hardly see the speaker, and they're cramped up in a little hole somewhere. Please make sure the speaking area is spacious and that it's well lit. You need to have a lectern. Now, usually the contestants don't want to use a lectern, but the contest master certainly will. You need a timer's table, preferably in the center, close to the front, where it's easily seeable by the contestants. You need 2 chairs and a table. for the timers. This one is extremely important. Ample, safe parking, where people feel comfortable going to the establishment. You need a refreshments area that's separate from your speaking area. Of course, it goes without saying you want an air-conditioned room. If it's in the winter, you want it to be heated. If it's in the summer, you definitely want it to be cool. Additional private area for the chief judge, ballot counters, and sequestered table topics contest. This is a separate room that can be used for the chief judge to go through the briefing with the judges, and also a place where they can bring the table topics contest, and a place for your ballot counters to go when people are not seeing what they're doing. It's great if you can get 2 rooms, so you have 2 separate rooms, but at least one, again, separate from everybody else, so that the people can be sequestered. Speech contest publicity.
I did want to say one thing about the venue check. I apologize. You want to make sure that you visit the venue at least once before the date of the event, especially if you're planning it with someone else. Even if they've seen it, you want to go into that venue and talk about how you're going to set up the space, how you're going to use the space, because it's important that you think about all these different aspects and that both parties have an understanding of the setup and how that's going to work, so that on the day of the contest, you can just get in there and get it done. Or if the person who's helping you with the contest all of a sudden gets extremely ill and can't show up, you know what their vision was for that space.
Which actually happened last year at our area international contest. And I was so grateful that Katie was there and other people stepped up to help out. The next thing we want to talk about is publicity. This is, again, one of those things that we tend to forget about if nobody's reminding us. You need to create a flyer and publicize your contest venue within your club, and hopefully you can get it to the District 68. They can put it on the calendar. They can include a venue map and address on the flyer. What you don't want, and again, this is speaking from experience, you don't want people going to the wrong venue. Sometimes people will Google Map something or Siri, and they'll wind up in the wrong place. That actually happened to us last year. One of our speakers got some wrong information and was on time, but in the wrong location. So that definitely make sure you have a venue map and address on the flyer. Verify that District 68 calendar has the correct information. Utilize your social media. Most of the clubs now have a Facebook page. Put it on club Facebook page. Put it on your own Facebook page. Ask people to like it. Ask people to share it. Remember that we want as many people in the contest as we can. It's not just for the evaluators, the judges, and the contestants. We need an audience. So they don't have to be members of Toastmasters to attend. That's how we get people interested. If they come to a contest and you run a successful contest, you'll also be bringing new members into Toastmasters and into your clubs. And then I'm going to let Katie talk about sending personal e-invites.
Sure. Another form of social media that you can use is if your club is already taking advantage of meetup.com, make sure that you put on your meetup group that you're having a special event in your club. And then when the area contest rolls around, make sure to create an event for that contest. So you can still do it at the club level, but you can say, our club is attending this event as a group. It's open to everyone, Toastmasters and non. And that way you're helping the area, the division, and even the district publicize those events. But again, like Chick said, it's a way for you to draw people into your actual clubs and hopefully get new members. So when you're sending the personal e-invites, I would encourage you not only at your club level, definitely I'm going to send that to all of your club members, but also invite the district leadership. In addition to that, invite the other clubs in your area. If you're at the area level, you want to make sure that you invite all of the deck members. Some of those people you'll probably call upon to assist you with your contest, but you want to send those personal evites. Again, make sure that all of the clubs in the areas are notified. And then when you're on the division level, again, reach out to all the deck members. If you want to send a personal invitation to those individuals, so that way they're aware, because many times what happens is the information gets passed on to one person. Maybe as an area director, you ask the club president to notify their club, and sometimes those messages get lost in translation, or perhaps maybe they announced it at a meeting, but not all the members were at that meeting. So I would encourage you to, yes, ask your presidents to share that information, but also send personal invitations to the members in your area, division, and club.
And I'd just like to add that also, going back to the flyers, make sure all your clubs at the area level, make sure all the clubs have flyers that they can hand out to their members and ask them to pass those on. So let's talk about now the contest eligibility checklist. For area contests, what you want to do is you want to contact the club presidents for the names of their club winners or the people that they're sending. Not all clubs will have contests. Some clubs will just send someone, but you need to know who that person is. You need to verify that contestant's eligibility. And I know some of you new area directors are going, how do I do that? It is much easier than it sounds. If you go to Leadership Central, there's an eligibility assistant there. When you go to Leadership Central, go to your area, and there is actually, when you open your page, there is a spot right on it where you can go and you can put it and you can see who is eligible and who isn't. Then the next thing you want to do is request speaker certification and bio forms at least a week prior to the area contest. But don't depend on them sending them back in. You may have to do more than one notification. You may have to send email followed by a phone call followed by a text message to that club president or to the contestants. Just try to get them to get that stuff in early, or at least bring it in with them filled out. But if not, you have to have blank sheets on hand at the site for those contestants to be able to fill out when they get there. Division contest is the same thing, except that the area director is going to provide you with the certifications, the forms you need, bio forms you need from the winners from area. This is simply a copy of, so you can see what the speech contestant profile looks like. This will actually be used by your Toastmaster, your contest master, to ask questions in the interview section of the contest. So it's very important that you have this. And this is the eligibility and originality form. If a person wins and has no eligibility and originality form in, they didn't win. You need to make sure that this is filled out. Again, you can have somebody in your team to make sure that this is all done. And before the contest, anyone who has not already filled out the eligibility form or the profile, like Chick mentioned before, you want to bring those to the contest. And my suggestion to you is the day of that contest is very busy. There's going to be a lot going on, and so you want to be as prepared as possible. Many times people do not know, if you notice at the very top right-hand corner of that form, what does it ask you? It asks you the club number and the district number. A lot of people, especially those that are parts of newer clubs where those club numbers are 7, 8, 25 numbers long, they don't know that number. And so if you could go the extra mile prior to the night of the contest and fill in as much of this form as possible, meaning the club number, the district they're in, which contest they're participating in, the date of the contest, so that when they get there, all they have to do is read it, sign it, fill in their speech title, and then they can move on. Speakers and contestants, when they come in, there's going to be some angst and anxiety, and the less that they have to worry with and the less redundancy there is, the easier it's going to be on them. And that's what this is about, is creating an event that people enjoy, but also creating an atmosphere that's conducive to excellent speeches.
And so we have to remember that we're kind of a support system for our contestants. And so anything we can do to make the process a little easier on them, we should make that effort.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about some of your team members and what their responsibilities are now. The first one is we're going to talk about the registrar. Again, they need to arrive early. They need to sign in, collect donations from attendees. They need to know that the contestants are not required to pay unless they want to share in refreshments. We cannot charge them to compete, but if they're going to be consuming the refreshments along with everybody else, they need to also contribute to the cause. They need to, when people sign in, they need to give each guest an agenda. They need to have a separate sign-in sheet for contest members and dignitaries so that they can hand those dignitaries' names over to the contest master. And they need to remain at the registration desk. And Katie and I were talking about this. This says until 20 minutes after the contest begins, but that doesn't mean they're done. They will need the ballot counters. Everybody else will need help. Will need help at some point in filling out the award certificates and making sure that the winners are those that go in frames. There's a lot for them to do. So don't promise them that after 20 minutes after it starts that they can just sit back and relax. There'll probably a lot for them to do. Refreshments. Again, this is your refreshment chair, and this is extremely important. You need the refreshment chair. You cannot do it by themselves. They need one or two people. My suggestion would be that when you recruit your refreshment chair, you ask them to make sure that they get one or two people to help them. This is how we get people in the clubs involved in contests, is by giving them something to do. It's an old thing that I learned a long time ago. If you want to make sure somebody's at your party, you ask them to bring the ice. Then they feel obligated to come. That theory works with the people in our clubs. It gets them there if they know that they've got something to do when they get there and they're not just sitting around not doing anything. Have plenty of water. I don't care if you don't have anything else to drink. Please have plenty of water. And this time, I'm not going to read through all of this, but you can see that depending on what time your contest is, the type of refreshments you're going to bring changes. But you need to make sure that people have enough there, that they're not thirsty, that they're not hungry during the middle of the contest. You don't want stomachs rumbling while contestants are speaking. And then you have to make sure that you have plates, napkins, utensils, etc., and condiments for your coffee. I know this seems like a throwaway item. It is not. It is one of the most important things in making your contest into an event. Remember, we're talking about doing successful contests here. Successful means you're making an event. When people leave your contest, you want them to walk out with a buzz. You want them to walk out to telling everybody what a great time. To those people that did come from your club, to go back to the club and say, boy, you missed it. This was an event. This was so much fun. So again, this is my feeling on it.
I kind of have a pet peeve when it comes to refreshments, Chick, because I've been in a couple of contests where while someone's speaking, all of a sudden someone's opening a bag of chips or devouring something that seems to just be the loudest food that you could possibly eat. So one of the things that I really thought was a benefit of the venue that we had, where we had kind of like a refreshment staging area, and it was separate from where we held our contest. So I thought that was a great benefit. Two things. First of all, when people arrived at 6, because that's when we announced that it started, then the contest didn't actually start until 6:30. So that gave people 30 minutes to chit-chat and eat the bulk of what they were going to eat. And then we moved them into that contest room. The refreshments were still available, but they weren't easily accessible where they could get up while somebody was speaking.
Right.
And so here's the thing. If you can have those separate spaces, that would be ideal. But if you can't, worst case scenario, if the food has to be right next to where that speaker is going to be, think about the types of food and the types of utensils and the types of things that you're bringing into that space, because everything is going to be magnified, and the smallest upset can just throw a speaker off. So,
right. So bananas would be good because they peel quietly and they eat quietly.
Yeah.
On contest day, this is the things when you get to that day, you need to ensure that your time of when you're going to be there and that your volunteers are there and ready to go. You need to arrive at least 1 hour early. Your volunteer should be there at the same time you are. You need to assess the conditions and set up. No matter how much we talk about it with a venue and they tell us, oh, well, we'll take care of it. A lot of times if you get there at the last minute, it's not the way you talked about it. It's not the way you discussed it. I would personally, I've always been there 2 hours. Katie and I have both been there 2 hours before our meeting to make sure everything was the way it needed to be. So that when it came time for it to start, we weren't in a panic. So again, arrive at least an hour early. Make sure you have a lectern and the flag. Make sure that you test sound, lights, and AV equipment if you have sound, lights, and AV equipment. If you don't have them, then you don't have to worry about it too much. But trust me, again, when I'm talking about, we're trying to make this an event. So if you have those things, it just makes everything a notch above.
Additionally, again, this is kind of another area where libraries become a little difficult because many times we try to schedule, especially if your contest is scheduled on a weekend, people try to start it at 9 a.m. Well, the library doesn't open until 9 a.m., so we're going to start our contest at 9:15. Or, you know, honestly, Chick, as a previous contestant and as someone who has attended several contests, I would much rather say, let's start the contest at 10 so that when our contestants arrive at 9:30, that, again, they're in a proper setting. There isn't everyone shuffling around. There's not confusion. There's not, well, wait, did you get this? Did you just do that? Again, you want to make this as relaxing and fun as possible. And if everybody's in a panic or just not organized or trying to hurry so we can start on time, or we're already behind because we really couldn't start at 9, I think it just creates attention that's unnecessary for an event such as this. It's supposed to be exciting, fun, and a celebration of our speakers.
Absolutely. Again, another checklist, and I'm not going to read through this one at a time. You guys can do a screen capture of this, or you can go back to the recording and look at it anytime you want. But these, again, it's just a checklist to make sure that you have everything you need, you keep everything running smoothly. These are the things that you need to make sure you have on hand during the contest. Awards and recognition. It's extremely important that you make sure you designate a particular individual to ensure that contest awards, trophies, and medals are delivered to the site, and that person is in charge of those so they know where they are at all times. I have been to a couple of contests before where we had to tell people we're going to give you your trophies or your medals next week. That's just not good. That doesn't look good. It doesn't look professional. And it's a really kind of a letdown if you win a contest and they tell you, I'm going to send you your award next week. It's just not the same thing as going up and accepting it in person. Prepare your certificates in advance. And I'm going to take all of this kind of in one thing. Type the contestant and participant names on certificates or clear labels. I have gone so far in the past to print enough certificates so I made a first, second, and third place certificate for every contestant so that it would be printed on there and not written in someone's bad handwriting where the marks are live. Our past district director, Tina, came up with a great idea. She prints clear labels of everybody's names so that when you go to fill in the certificates, you just take the clear label and put on it. It looks beautiful, it works well, and it saves a lot of paper and a lot of ink. So I would suggest that. Please don't handwrite people's names in on those certificates. You have this beautiful certificate and then a handwritten name. Unless you have a calligrapher in the group who brings their pens, please don't do that. Bring blank certificates with you to the contest for last-minute replacements, because some things sometimes happen, and give contestant participants certificates to whoever is going to be handling the awards part of the contest program. Sometimes that will be the contest chair. Sometimes that will be the contest master. It could be another person that someone from the deck that's there, and you're asking them to help with the awards. Make sure that they have all the awards that they need.
I have a couple of insider tips. With the medals that we receive at the area level, sounds silly, but those cases are difficult, extremely difficult to open. And so I would encourage you, before the contest, you actually open those cases. You want to have it to give to the winner, the participant, but you want to make sure they're open because you want to actually be able to hand them the actual medal. And if you're trying to fumble around with that when you're trying to award someone, it just takes away from the moment. So try to open those containers ahead of time and make sure that you have the proper first, second, or third place winner. And then the other thing about writing the names check is not only is it sometimes not legible or unattractive, but many times if your friends see that, they don't think you actually won. They think you just wrote your name in that certificate yourself.
Could be, could be. My friends, they might have been right. Additional resources, you can go to the Toastmasters.org website, click Resources Speech Contest. There's all kind of stuff there to help you. Again, I'm not going to sit here and read through everything, but please notice at the bottom there's a link.
I think the other thing to remind everyone is, if this is not your first time doing a speech contest, don't think, well, I know all the rules, so I don't need the rule book. Some of the rules have actually changed, and they do update the rule book pretty much annually. And so if you do not have the 2017 rule book, you do need to download that. You can do that again at the Toastmasters website. We've given you the instructions on how to find that. And make sure that you have a copy of it, and your chief judge should also have a copy of it. I would also send it to all of my judges and send it to all of my participants. I would send it to everyone, really, is what I would do.
Okay, before we actually get started on the question and answer, there is one thing I want to leave you guys with. Especially if you new area directors, you've never been an area director before, I know that this is a lot to take in. It's kind of trying to get a sip of water out of a fire hydrant. It's a lot of information all at once. Please know that there are people here, besides just these websites and the scenes that we're sending you, there are people who are more than happy to help you. Your division, area directors, your division director, it's part of their responsibility to help you with this. I am personally helping my area directors find the venues that they need. If you're troubled about the venue, ask the person who was the area director last year. Where did they go? What were the problems they faced? Was there something they could recommend? Or your division director, or you even people in the deck. There is a lot of people here to help you, and that's what we're here for, and we certainly don't mind. So don't be afraid to call. I'll tell you right now, my number is 504-28. No, I'm giving my whole phone number. 504-275-9971.
And our contact information, our emails, will be on the next slide as well, so you guys will be able to write that down if you're looking for that. You can reach out to either one of us for those contest checklists. We'll be happy to share that with you if you'd like that. One thing that I wanted to just mention is, when you're building these teams, tell your chief judge, and as a contest chair, remember this, that you always want more people than are required. So you have to have at least 5 judges. You don't want 5. You want 7, because something's going to happen. Somebody's not going to show up. Somebody's going to get sick. Somebody is not going to be eligible to be a judge, because that's important too. Not just anyone can be a judge. you have to be eligible for that as well. So
read your rule book.
So read your rule book, make sure your chief judge reads the rule book, and you know who is allowed to do what, and you have more people than you actually need, because life happens and sometimes people disappoint us. And so we have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. So you ready to open it up for questions?
We're open for questions.
Rebecca, did you have any questions that came in during the presentation?
Hello?
Hi.
I'll produce that. Oh, you talking to somebody?
Hi, no, none of we didn't have any questions come through while y'all were actually presenting. So now we'll open it up to everybody if you have any questions.
Okay, I'll produce that. On the judges, how many speeches have the judges have to have completed? Hello?
I believe it's 6, Alfred, but it's in your rule book.
I think it's 6. Oh, well, okay, yes, all right. It's in the rule book. I thought maybe you just knew offhand, but you didn't mention. Okay.
Yeah, we believe
I don't trust in my memory. That's why I read the rule book.
Yeah, we believe that it's 6, but you need to double check that.
And that's just for the spring competition.
All right.
Right?
No, judges should be, your judges are pretty much standard across the board, but it is in the rule book what makes them eligible.
Yes, okay. I think it was 6. I'll check it. Okay, on publicity, so we put, well, what we usually do is publicize it in our newspaper, local newspaper for the club, and with the information of when and where the area and division contest would take place. Is that a good idea?
That's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful idea.
Okay.
We wanted to leave something for you, Alfred.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Do we have any other questions?
No.
Do we have any other listeners?
But I thank y'all for all this information. Y'all gave us some good information how to publicize and how to make sure everything is in order and everything. Yes, y'all gave some good information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Last call for any additional questions.
I don't have any
additional
questions. This is Denise Alonzo, and I just wanted to thank you for doing this for us. This is my first time I'll be going through this, and I think it's great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Wonderful, and consider us both resources. So if you have any questions or need anything, feel free to reach out.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have any further questions? All right, so hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording, and thank you, Chick, thank you, Katie, for being here tonight.
Great job.
Thank you, Chick. Thank you, Katie, for the information. Take the time out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And have a good week, and we will see you next Wednesday at 7:30 for our next session of Webinar Wednesday. Thank you, everybody.